Senate is present, we get to see it, and the jury is present. You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, say we call him Molly Worth. If you could please stand, you'll be sworn in. Thank you.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Thank you.
You may be seated. You may proceed with your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Worth, can you just tell us your full name, please?
Molly Malia Worth.
And right now, which town or city do you reside in here in Maui?
Haiku.
And how long have you been in Haiku?
How long have I lived
Yes,
in Haiku for? My whole life.
And how long? So you've been on Maui your whole life, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. Worth, are you employed right now?
Yes.
And who is your employer?
The Natural Area Reserve System under DLNR,
And what does DLNR stand for?
Department of Land and Natural Resources.
And how long have you been employed by the Department of Land and Natural Resources?
Now a month. I used to work for Maui Invasive Species Committee.
Is that known as MISC?
MISC, yes.
Let me turn your attention to, well, first of all, are you familiar with the Scott family?
Yes.
And how long have you known the Scott family?
I would say about maybe 15 years.
And how did you come to know the Scott family?
My best friend was good friends with Shay, one of Kim's daughters.
And I'm sorry, and who's your friend? Your good friend?
Nahika Stout.
Now, how familiar are you with the Scott family?
Pretty familiar. I think more so in the past 2 years than that I've become more close with them than I used to be.
Did you know a person by the name of Charlie Scott?
Yes, I did.
And how did you first get to know or meet Charlie Scott?
Through Nahika Stout.
And,
Through Nahika Stout.
her name is, last name is Stout, S-T-O-U-T?
Stout, yes.
Okay. And first name Nahika.
Nahika.
Do you know if Nahika, Stout, and Charlie were friends?
Yes.
Now, when you first met the Scott family, do you recall which or what was the town they lived in?
When I first met them,
Or when you started to get to know them?
in Haiku,
Are you familiar with of Wellow residence?
yes.
When did you become familiar with that residence?
Few years ago.
Now, was there a time, if any, that where you may not have had much contact with the Scott family after knowing them?
Yeah.
Can you describe that for us, please?
Yeah. I'd see them like once every few months, just in passing.
Now, turning your attention to the week of February 9th, 2014, did you still consider yourself friends with the Scott family?
Yes.
And during that week, what, if anything, did you learn with respect to Charlie Scott?
Nahika sent me a text message asking me if I had heard anything from Charlie.
And when you received that message, had you heard anything from Charlie?
No, the last time I had seen her was maybe 6 months prior to that text message.
At some point in time, did you engage in or assisting the Scott family with a search?
Yes.
And who was the search for?
Charlie Scott.
And how did you get involved?
I went to the community center, and I think it was the day after they found her car burned in at Jaws. So the next day I went to the community center and there's a bunch of volunteers there, so I went to go help search.
And how did you know about this community? Well, first of all, which community center are you talking about?
Haiku Community Center.
And how did you become aware of the Haiku Community Center enough to go there?
Well, Nikki told me about it, or Nikki. And yeah, she told me about it, but I also saw that there was flyers up and everything and all on Facebook. So yeah, everybody pretty much knew about it.
And so you said that the day after you went to the community center?
Yes.
And do you recall which day this is?
Must have been the 13th. It was the 13th
Okay.
of February.
So would this be a Thursday?
Mm-hmm. I think
And
so.
you have to answer yes or no.
Yes.
So the court reporter can
Oh,
tell you.
yes.
Now, how did you arrive at the community center on the 13th, February 13th of 2014?
I drove my truck.
And what kind of truck do you own?
A 2006 red Toyota Tacoma.
And do you still own it today?
Yes.
And once you arrived at the community center, did you meet up with any persons?
Yeah, Nikki was there, and Kimberlyn was there, and Phaedra was there, and Max.
And who's the other person?
Max.
Now, did you know Max at the time?
Yes, I knew him through Fiona, which is one of Kim's daughters.
Now, when you got to the community center, what, if anything, did you do with respect to any kind of sign up or anything like that?
I might have signed a paper saying that I was going to go search. I don't recall though.
You don't recall signing anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay. What, if anything, did you receive at the Haiku Community Center if you were going to assist in the search?
Receive?
Or what did they give you, if anything?
I think they gave us some orange flagging tape, but I don't really recall.
I'll actually object as to leading the Mac Foundation then.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the answer.
The motion to strike is granted.
And you say you don't recall.
I don't recall.
When you're at the Haiku Community Center to help with the search, do you recall about what time you arrived there?
I got to the community
Or
center.
time of the day?
3:30 when I got there. Yeah.
And what did you do when you got there?
I'll actually object to the last answer is lack of foundation.
The objection is overruled.
Okay, that means you said you got there at 3. Is that an exact time? The 3:30 you're giving me?
No, not exactly.
So I'll object, move to strike the lack of foundation.
Yeah, we can clarify this.
The objection is overruled.
Okay. When I ask you time of the day, I'm not asking you for an exact time. Is what time of the day do you remember getting there? Morning, afternoon, or night?
Afternoon.
Okay. And you're sure about that?
Yes.
And what, if any, plans did you have once you got there?
Just to do whatever I could to help, whatever that may be.
Okay. So did you help?
Yes.
What did you do to help?
Phaedra needed a ride to check out a pinged location. She wanted to go check out this area, and Kim didn't want her to go alone.
So I'm going to object, move to strike that part.
Okay.
As
It's
to
hearsay.
the last
What
portion of the
Kim-
response.
Yes.
All right, I'll sustain the objection and strike the last portion of the response related to Kim.
Okay, now, Ms. Worth, without telling us what other people may have told you or what you heard, because that's hearsay, I'm just going to ask you, what did you do? Okay? So, the last part, whatever you said about Kim, that part is stricken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After you spoke with Phaedra, did you yourself have a plan to where you're going to head out?
No.
At any time, did you have a plan to where you're going to head out?
No.
So did you stay at Haiku Center the entire night?
No. I didn't.
What did you do?
I gave Phaedra and Max a ride out to New Ailua.
Okay, and whose idea was that?
That was Phaedra's idea.
So you agreed to do that.
Yes.
And what did you drive when you were when you were going to take them out?
My truck.
And where were you headed? Where were you heading when you left Haiku Community Center?
Where was I heading to?
Where were you going?
Oh, New Ailua.
Okay, and how did you know you were going to Paraquats?
Because of the pinged location on
Jeff, you're saying?
You know, she's explaining why she went there.
The objection is overruled.
Okay, please explain why did you go out to Nuailua or Paraquats?
because there was a ping on the
No,
phone.
this is all hearsay.
Yeah. She's explaining why she went out there.
When she was told why she went out.
I saw the thing, so.
Okay, hold on.
In this particular instance, the question relates to why she was going out there as opposed to the truth of the matter, sir. So respectfully, the objection is overruled.
Okay. So, can you finish your answer? Why did you go out there?
I went out there
Because
because you were following a ping on Phaedra's phone.
okay. So did you see that yourself?
Yes, I did.
Now, had you before you saw the ping on Phaedra's phone, had you ever been out there to the Paraquats or Nuailua area?
No.
Had you ever gone to the east? Had you ever driven to the east side of Maui?
Yes, I have.
How often would you have gone out there?
Well, probably about maybe 3 times a year, at least.
And what would the 3 times a year be for?
What were the 3 times a year before?
No, what would they have been for?
Oh, for work or for camping
And what kind of work would that have been?
with Maui Invasive Species Committee. Mhm.
When you folks drove out there, were you able to find the Nuailua or Paraquats area?
Yes,
How did you find it?
because of the GPS ping on Phaedra's phone.
Now, can you tell us once you drive on Hana Highway, how did you arrive at that area?
I took a left turn onto the dirt road that goes straight to the bay, and I parked off to the side.
Okay. When you got out there, could you please describe, well, let me ask you this before we talk about you getting out there. Do you know or recall approximately what time you would have left the Haiku Community Center to go out towards the Paraquats or Nuailua area?
The afternoon? Roughly what time are you asking?
Yes. Do you have a time frame?
I think it was like maybe 4:30. I don't really recall though, like off the top of my head. I don't remember what time it was. It was 2 years ago.
All right. Do you recall about what time you would have arrived at the bay, the Paraquats or Nuailua Bay area?
5:30.
I mean, is that an estimate you're giving us?
It's an estimate. I can't think of the.
leading.
The objection is overruled.
Now, could you describe what the lighting was like at around 5:30 by the Nuailua or Paraquats area?
It was still pretty light out. It's kind of starting to get a little dark, but not really. It was you could still see. So.
Now, once you got there, Miss Worth, once you arrived by that area, could you tell us what you did?
We walked down to the bay to search over there, and then we walked back up from the bay, and then we organized in we got lined up in a sweep. Like, so for my work, whenever we're sweeping for plants, we line up about 3 meters apart from each other, and we move forward. So we were doing that, looking for anything over at Paraquat. So we were moving towards the stream, lined up.
Okay, before you go any further, let me ask you this. When you say you walked back, you went down to the bay, you walked back up, which trail or road, if any, did you take to walk back up?
Objection leading.
No, this is...
The objection is over.
Okay, please answer that.
The dirt road on New Wailua, the dirt road that goes straight to the ocean. We walked down on the dirt road towards the ocean, walked back up on the same road, and then after... Yeah.
Okay, and after walking back up, what did you do?
We lined up at the top, more towards where my truck was, which is about maybe 300 feet in from the main road.
Okay, and when you say you folks lined up, whose idea was that?
That was my idea.
And you mentioned about something at work that you do.
That's
Could
what I
you
do for
explain
work.
that?
I sweep for plants. We're looking for invasive plants. So what we do is we line up about 3 meters apart, and we just walk forward. Everybody's in line and walking forward.
Now, by the time you folks walk up from the bay and you get into line 3 meters apart, could you describe what the lighting is like at that time?
Still light up. You can still see lots.
You can still see what?
A lot. You can still see.
And you said you folks make your way down to the stream?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you know where the stream is?
Because you drive over the stream to get to New Wailua. There's a bridge that goes over a stream.
Okay, where's the Hana Highway itself?
In reference to the stream.
Or in reference to the bridge?
Yeah. So the stream the stream goes down this way, goes towards the ocean, and the Hana Highway goes across over it. The bridge is part of the Hana Highway.
So as you folks are making your way down to the stream, could you describe what the plant growth is like in the area as you guys move forward to the stream?
It's thick. There's a lot of clidemia. There's some kukui nut trees, a lot of inkberry. Yeah, so it's like a jungly mess.
Okay, now you use the word clidemia, is that correct?
Clidemia, yeah.
Did you actually observe a lot of clidemia there?
Yes, lots and lots of clidemia.
And what kind of plant is clidemia?
Clidemia is in the melastome family. It's related to Myconia, which is one of our target species.
When you say target species, what do you mean by that?
Our list of species that we try to control for Mountain Invasive Species Committee.
Okay. And the other plants you named that you observed there, kukui nut?
Kukui nut, and then inkberry.
All right, is kukui nut, is that a plant or a tree?
A tree.
And could you describe the size of the kukui nut trees you saw there?
They're tall, very tall.
Okay. When you say tall, can you give us a range?
50 feet.
Pardon me?
50 feet.
Up to 50 feet.
They're big. They're really big.
Okay.
They're big.
And then you said inkberry, is that correct?
Inkberry, yeah.
And what is an inkberry? Is that a plant or a tree?
It's a plant that can grow. It's grows up like a woody sort of plant. It's like it'll be like this small in diameter, and it'll be about maybe 5 feet tall. But then it'll get really big. It'll get to about like 25 feet tall and get really wide. So it's a tree.
Okay, when you said this small in diameter, were you showing us at about a centimeter in diameter?
About, yeah.
So you folks are making your way into that area. You said you're about 3 meters apart, is that correct?
Yes.
When you guys get into the brush area, are you able to see clearly the other two individuals, Max or Phaedra?
No.
And why not?
Because it's thick. There's lots of bushes, plants in the way.
Now, you mentioned that 3 meters is something that you do for your work as well.
Yes,
Yeah, is there a reason why there's 3 meters that you know of?
because it's close enough where you can hear somebody. You can kind of, like, I couldn't see Phaedra, but I could hear her clearly. So you cover more ground that way, but you're also close enough to where you know where they are. So you can keep
Okay,
them.
so as you folks are moving towards the stream or the river area, what, if anything, do you hear or see?
I hear Phaedra. I just hear her, oh my God, and I go, what? And she goes, I see it. She found this DVD. It was this, a burned Twilight DVD. And she was explaining to me the significance to that, because apparently...
So I'll go ahead and object at that point to your side.
Okay.
The objection is
Right, yeah. Okay, so without telling us what Phaedra explained to you or what she told you that time, did you have a chance to observe that
Yes,
DVD?
I did.
Okay. At the time that she mentioned or you heard her with respect to the DVD, what, if anything, did you find?
I found a blue dress, or a blue tank top with white polka dots on it, on the ground. And that was the last thing I heard that she was seen wearing.
Okay, without telling us what you heard.
That's hearsay.
Okay.
We'll just strike that
The
last part.
The last part, Chairman.
Response
That's fine.
also stating objection.
Okay, now Ms. Worth.
And that portion of the response will be stricken.
Okay, without telling us what you heard, okay, your answer or your response was you saw a blue tank top with white polka dots.
It's a blue tank top with white polka dots.
Okay, where did you see that?
On the ground.
When you say on the ground, what, if any, plants was it by or on?
Inkberry and Clydemia.
Now, at what point in time did you see this blue tank top with white polka dots in relation to hearing Phaedra saying she found something?
She found the DVD, and then I found the clothes.
Okay. And how, was there a gap in time that you're able to tell us?
I was pretty much right. Let's see, maybe a couple seconds apart.
Okay. And when you found the tank top with white polka dots, could you tell us approximately how far in you folks had gone from the dirt pathway that led down to Noelua Bay?
Maybe 25 feet in.
Okay. Is that, did you measure this, or is this an estimate you're giving
It's
us?
an estimate.
And what did you do when you saw that blue tank top with white polka dots?
I picked it up. I took a picture, and then I picked it up, lifted it up to see this black skirt was intertwined with it, with the shirt underneath.
Okay, and when you say you picked it up, can you tell us how you picked it up?
I don't recall if I used a stick or I lifted up with my hand, but I
But
just kind of,
you know you lifted it up.
I know I lifted it up to expose the skirt that was underneath.
And the skirt that was underneath, could you describe that for us, please?
It's a black skirt, and it had a hole in it that I noticed. I didn't take the skirt and open it up to really take a good look at it, but I was able to determine it was a black skirt, and it had at least one hole in it that I could see.
Now, by the time you lifted up the blue tank top with the white polka dot off of the skirt, did you take note of either Phaedra or Max?
Yes, Phaedra was. I told Phaedra what I had found, and she came over and she saw this. I showed her what I had found.
Okay. And did you take note of where Max was at that point?
Max was on the other side of Phaedra in the line, so he was still over there, but he hadn't come over yet. Or he hadn't come over at all.
Okay. At any point, do you know, and again, if you know, do you know if Max saw the skirt and the blue tank top with white polka dots?
Not at this point, no.
Objection, lack of foundation.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the answer.
The motion to strike is granted.
Now, after, well, did you observe Phaedra's face and her person when you showed her the blue tank top with white polka dots?
I observed her face, yes.
Okay, could you describe that for us, please?
Confused, pretty distraught, but she wasn't crying at that point.
And what, if anything, did you notice in Phaedra's hands at that when she came over to you?
She had the DVD,
You saw that.
yes.
Now, you mentioned that the skirt and the the blue tank top with white polka dots were intertwined. Can you describe that for us, please?
They were just kind of like when I lifted up the tank top, it was at the bottom of the tank top and the beginning of the skirt. It was kind of in like a ball.
Now, what if any photographs did you take after you took the one you just
I took
described?
a photograph of the tank top and the skirt, and then we put the Twilight DVD on top.
Okay, when you say we put it, do you know who put it on top?
Phaedra?
Is that what you remember?
Objection, asked and answered.
The objection is overruled.
Okay, you have to answer out loud because the court reporter is going to take down without nodding your head. So, do you remember? Is that what you remember?
Yes.
Do you folks just stop searching at that point?
No.
What do you guys do?
We lined back up and we moved towards the river.
And when you line back up, moving towards the river, do you folks get to the river?
I hear Phaedra.
Okay, the question is, do you folks get to the river?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do you arrive there all at once or at different times?
No, we arrived there at different times.
Okay. Now, on your way to the river, well, did you arrive at the river before or after Phaedra and Max?
After Phaedra and Max.
On your way to the river, what, if anything, do you hear?
I hear Phaedra's voice.
And can you describe her voice at that time?
I just hear her go, "Oh my God."
Do you know approximately how far you are away from Phaedra when you hear those words?
I don't know, really. I'm guessing maybe about.
Object, lack of
So,
foundation.
without
I don't
guessing,
know.
The objection is sustained.
okay, I'm not going to ask you to guess. When you hear Phaedra utter those words, is she within visual sight of you?
No.
What do you do when you hear those words being uttered?
I move very fast through the Clydemia.
And how are you moving through the Clydemia? Can you show us with your hands?
Like this.
Okay. Your Honor, the record should reflect that Ms. Worth is showing us in a breaststroke motion. It's anywhere from her face up to her forehead in a swim-like motion.
Proceed.
Okay. Now, why are you moving through the Clydemia in that fashion?
Because it's very thick.
Do you get there to the river?
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there, can you tell us what you see?
I see a blanket that is covered in maggots. And I see Phaedra sitting on a rock, and Max is right behind her, and Phaedra's crying.
let me go back to the blue tank top and white polka dots, as well as the black skirt. You said the blanket was covered in maggots?
Yes.
What, if any, maggots did you see with respect to the black skirt and the blue tank top that you found?
There weren't any.
And let's move back now at the river. You said Phaedra's sitting on a rock, is that right?
Yes.
And she's crying?
Yes, she's crying.
Can you please describe what you observed with her crying?
Tears. Her face was red. She was very upset.
And you said at some point you observed the green blanket, is that correct?
Yes.
By the time you get there, where do you see the green blanket?
It's on the river, like there's the running water, and then there's these rocks, and the blanket is draped over these rocks, spread out.
Do you see who placed it there?
No.
What, if anything else, do you see by that river area?
Well, across about 5 feet on the other side of the river, there were some empty rolls of masking tape.
And when you say empty rolls, is there a number that you saw?
2. And there was also a gray jacket and black pants, or jeans.
The gray jacket, could you describe that for us?
It was cut off at the shoulder. Not cut off, but it's just a short sweater, like sewn right here.
And when you say jacket, is what kind of jacket are you
A
talking
hoodie.
about? And then you said the pants was a pair of jeans.
Yes.
What color was it?
I think black, but it might have been dark blue because it was wet, so.
Now, Ms. Worth, when you arrived at the rivers area and you saw these items, what, if any, odor did you detect?
I smelled something dead. It was like rotted flesh.
And which area did that seem to come from?
The location of the blanket.
Now, did you handle any of these items that you just described in the river? And again, more specifically, the blanket. Well, let's go one by one. Did you handle the blanket?
No.
And how about the pair of black jeans?
No.
The gray hoodie sweater?
No.
The 2 rolls of tape that you saw?
No.
By the time you saw these items, can you describe what the lighting was like?
It was still light out. It was starting to get darker. You could still see visibility was still really good, but we knew we had a very limited amount of time of daylight still left.
Did you folks end the search there at that point?
No, Max and I had walked up the river towards the bridge.
Okay. When you say you and Max walked up there, did you see where Phaedra was?
Phaedra was still by the blanket, crying.
She was still crying.
Yeah.
When you and Max went up the river, which direction were you going towards?
Up the river towards the bridge.
Okay. And do you know if you guys walked together or apart?
We were kind of apart. Max was ahead of me.
And what, if anything, as you're walking up towards the bridge, what, if anything else, did you notice?
There was a dead pig
Where did you see this?
at the bridge.
And the bridge, approximately what, if you know, how far was the bridge where you saw the dead pig with respect to where the blanket and the other items were?
About 300 feet, maybe a little more than that.
And
I'll actually object as to lack of foundation.
The objection is overruled.
In terms of the measurement, Your Honor, 300 feet.
she said about, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Now, with respect to this dead pig, can you give us a description of it, if you can?
It's a black pig. It was dead. About maybe 20 pounds.
Object to that as lack of foundation?
When,
As to the weight, you mean?
Yes, sir.
I'll sustain the objection. If you want to place the foundation.
right, that's fine, Judge. I will. Now, you said it was a black pig, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you show us with your hands the length of this pig that you saw up by the bridge?
Like this.
And Your Honor, the record should reflect anywhere between 20 to 24 inches.
Proceed.
And can you describe how the pig looked to you when you observed it?
And I'll object as to relevance.
The objection is overruled. You may answer the question.
It was rotted, like sunken in.
And what, if any, odor did you detect by the pig?
There was an odor. A dead pig smell.
Now, are you able to tell whether that was the same odor that you smelled by the blanket area?
No, there were two separate odors.
After you folks, other than seeing this dead pig, did you see anything else up by the bridge area that caught your attention?
No.
Now, when you went up to well, first of all, you testified, before you got to the riverside, there was thick growth and vegetation, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then what is the plant that you have to swim through again?
Clydemia.
Clydemia. I want to make sure I say the right word. Clydemia. How was the plant life or the plant growth as you guys are going up the river?
Is it the same?
Even in the river area?
No, not in the river. In the river, it's bare. It was just rocky.
Were you folks able to walk up the river without
Yes.
any difficulty?
Mm-hmm.
Now, after seeing the pig and nothing else, you didn't take note of anything else, what did you folks do?
We turned around and walked back
Walk back in what direction?
towards the blanket.
And following the same path then?
Yes.
And once you got to the blanket area, or at what point did you notice Phaedra, if you did?
I noticed her when we were walking back.
And what was she doing when you noticed her?
She was standing and she was on her way up to see us.
I'm sorry, on her way.
Up towards the bridge to see us.
Did she make it to the bridge?
No.
At some point, without telling us what was said, if anything, was there a discussion between the three of you with respect to the items you found?
A discussion?
Or like, what were you guys going to do with the items?
Well, yes, there was a discussion.
And at some point, what did you folks decide to do with the items that you had described earlier?
Well, because we had no cell phone reception down there, and it was getting dark. We had to leave soon. We decided to take everything that we found and put it in the back of my truck and drive straight to Kim's house.
So I'll object as to hearsay.
This is a decision that
The objection is overruled. You may proceed.
Now, Ms. Worth, with respect to the blue tank top with white polka dots and a black skirt that was underneath it. What, if anything, did you do with respect to try to remember that location?
We tied flagging.
When you say we, who tied?
Max and Baby.
Okay, I'm talking about the blue tank top and the black skirt area.
We tied flagging to the trees that were nearby, that were at the areas where.
Now, when you say flagging, what do you mean by that?
Flagging, it's tape. It's like a plastic tape
And where did you get this plastic tape?
from the Haiku Community Center for the search for Charlie.
And what color was it?
Orange.
And with respect to the area where you found the blanket, what, if anything, did you do to mark that?
We tied off to a tree, I think. I didn't personally tie it, but I observed Max doing that.
Was there any markers, first of all, with respect to the blue tank top with white polka dots and the black skirt, before you folks had placed the orange tagging there, was there anything there to mark it?
Yes.
Somebody had already marked it?
No.
Yeah, so was it marked before that?
No.
Okay. And with respect to where the blanket was found, were there any markers in that area before you saw Max put the orange marker?
Not that I recall.
And when you said you folks decided to take it, which items do you know was recovered from either the river or the area where you found where you saw the tank top and the skirt?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Okay, which items did you folks actually retrieve or take with you?
Everything that we had found, the tank top, the skirt, the blanket, the empty rolls of masking tape, the jeans, and the jacket.
Now, did you?
Oh, and the DVD. Sorry, the
Okay.
DVD too.
Now, did you, when you folks recovered that, did you handle any of those items?
I did not.
Do you know if did you see Faith or handle any of those items?
I did not.
Did you see anyone handle those items when you recovered it?
Yes,
And who was that?
Max.
And once you recovered the items, where did you folks go?
We head straight to Kim's house over in Haiku.
Okay, I think I might have misspoke. When you folks, or when Max had those physical items in his possession, where did he take it to?
To my truck.
And at that point, can you please describe what the lighting was like when Max, yourself, and Phaedra went over to your truck?
It was about 6:30, I believe. So it was getting really dark, but it wasn't quite it wasn't pitch black or anything. It was just getting.
Well,
darker.
in order to get back, did you know the way back to your truck?
I'm sorry.
Could you find your way back to your red
Yes.
truck? Did you have any difficulty with that?
No.
Did you have to use, or at that time, did you have a flashlight that you
I had a flashlight with me, but I didn't have to use it.
had it in your possession at the time you went to the river?
Yes.
And what kind of flashlight is this?
A headlamp.
But you said you didn't have to use it.
I did not have to use it.
Did you use it at any time on the way back to the truck?
No.
And when you folks got to the truck, did you see what happened to the items that Max was carrying?
Yes.
What happened to it?
It went into the bed of my truck.
Did you observe how it was placed into the bed of your truck?
Yes.
Where was it placed?
It was placed on the right side of the tailgate of my truck.
Did you have anything on the left side of your truck?
Yes, I had my dirt bike in the back.
Did you take note of how it was placed in your truck? In what manner?
Carefully.
And once it was placed into your truck, what did you do?
We drove straight to Kim's house in Haiku.
Now, you said There was no phone reception in the area you found those clothing items as well as a blanket, is that correct?
Yes, there was no reception.
Yeah, how do you know there was no reception?
Because we all could look at our phones and see there was no reception.
Okay, I just want to ask what you did, not what the other people did, okay? What did you do that indicated to you there was no reception?
I did not try to make a phone call at that point because I knew that there was no reception.
Okay, and how did you know that?
Previous experience working in that area, being that if you ever drive to Hana, you know that there's no reception like all the way out to Hana.
Now, are you aware if by the Paraquats or Nuevo area, whether or not there's an area of reception that's nearby?
Not that I know of.
And then you
So
said,
I'm gonna check what, oh, that she knows, that's fine.
so you folks are now driving back to, or when you folks get back into your truck, are you still on the dirt path
Yes.
before the Hana Highway?
Yes.
And at that point, what is the lighting like?
It's dark.
And so do you have to use your headlights?
Yes.
And what do you do once you get to Hana Highway?
I head straight to Kim's house.
And approximately how long did it take you that night to get to, when you say Kim's house, which house are we talking about?
Kim and Johnny's house in Haiku. It's on West Kuyaha? West Kuyaha.
Now, can you give us an estimation of how long it took for you guys to get there once you left the Paraquats or Nuevo area?
Less than an hour. About 45 minutes.
And when you get there, do you park your truck?
Yes.
Where do you park your truck?
I parked my truck over by where the house is.
Which house? I mean, how many houses are on the property?
One house, there's a garage and a house that's connected to the,
Okay, so you
Garage.
park at the house,
on the outside of the garage.
and as you're parked there, what do you do next?
I go straight inside to Kim.
Inside the house.
Inside the house.
Now, did you see before you go into the house, and you go see Kim? Do you take note of where Phaedra is?
No.
How about Max?
No.
How about the clothing items, the blanket, and the things that you folks brought back from the Paraquats area? Do you take note of where?
It was in the bed of my truck. That was it. That was all I knew.
And when you go into the house to speak with Kim, could you, without telling us what was said at that point, could you tell us who was there in the house? If you know.
There was Kim and Johnny and some other people. I think at that point I just kind of had more tunnel vision to where Kim was.
And what was your intention of going directly to Kim?
To explain to Kim that we had found her daughter's clothes.
And when you spoke with Kim, was it just you speaking with her, or were you speaking to an entire group of people?
Just Kim.
You had a chance to observe Kim's face? You have to answer.
Yes.
And Ms. Ward, can you please describe Kim's face when you shared information with her?
Objection, relevance, and it's hearsay. It's not assertive.
Yeah, there's a description
It's
of her
non-verbal
facial
assertion.
expressions.
Objections overruled. You may answer the question.
Okay, Ms. Ward, can you please describe Kimberly's face when you shared this information?
She was crying.
How long, if you know, did this discussion with Kim last?
Like 2 minutes.
And after you spoke with Kim, what did you do next?
I went outside. You could hear Johnny.
Okay. But did you go outside right away, or were you still in the house for a little bit?
We just went out. We went straight outside because we can hear Johnny yelling at somebody.
Okay. When you say we, who are you talking? Who are you referring
Kim and
to?
I.
Okay. And when you went outside, could you describe the tone of voice that you heard?
He was yelling. He was upset.
And could you tell us if his yelling was directed at any one person or
No.
persons?
Max.
I'm going to
And
object. That relies on hearsay.
there's no words being used at this point.
The lack of foundation.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the
You
answer.
can lay a foundation.
Thank you. When Johnny is yelling, do you notice anyone out there when you go out of the house?
Yeah, everybody was outside.
Okay.
Everyone was out.
Do you notice where Max was when you went outside?
At that point, he had been walking backwards away from the clothes that were now on the ground.
Did you see how the clothes got to the ground?
No.
But you said he, meaning Max, was walking backwards from where the clothes were on the ground?
Yeah, because Johnny was yelling at him.
Okay, that's my next question. So Johnny's yelling at Max as he's walking backwards from the clothes on the ground?
Yes.
And what is the tone of Johnny's voice at that point?
Very, very worried.
Now, you testified earlier that
Yeah, I'm going to object to that last answer as lack of foundation and its hearsay.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the answer.
The motion to strike is granted.
okay, let's talk about Johnny's voice that you heard. Okay, you use the word worried, but that's a conclusion, so you can't use that word.
Okay.
Can you be descriptive, more descriptive of Johnny's voice as Max is walking away from the clothes on the ground?
Loud. Kind of crackly.
And when you say crackly, what do you mean by that?
I think it was crackly. Like, he was yelling, Johnny was yelling, but he was kind of emotional.
And how could you tell Johnny was emotional at that point?
Because his voice was crackling and...
And as you saw Max backing away from the clothing, did you see Max do anything else? Did you see Max do anything else other than back away from the clothing that was on the ground?
No.
And when you say the clothing on the ground, which clothing are you referring to?
I'm referring to the tank top, the jeans, the skirt, and the sweatshirt. And everything. It was all in
Everything?
a pile. Yeah, it was all in a pile, and it was placed over by a surfboard, I think.
Someone object, lack of foundation.
It was placed on the ground.
No.
The objection is overruled.
In terms of on the ground, but in terms of with the near the surfboard.
The objection is overruled.
Okay. Now you testified earlier that the blanket was covered in maggots. Is that correct? The screen blanket that you guys recovered?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you notice if any had transferred onto the back of the bed of your pickup truck?
I did not notice. I didn't really go close to any of this because Johnny was like yelling, so I wasn't about to go close to the clothes or even my own truck.
Now, Miss Ward, you had your cell phone that night, is that correct?
I don't recall.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, do you know Do you have any, did you observe anyone making a call to the police?
I did not observe anyone making a phone call, no.
By the time you folks reached the haiku area, could you describe what the lighting was like?
Dark.
And at any time that evening while you're at the haiku residence or Johnny's residence, do you recall any police arriving there?
Yes. Yes, the police did come eventually.
And at what point do you recall the police being there? For example, was it before you spoke with Kim and Johnny yelling, or after that?
It was after.
And did you recognize any of the officers that were there?
Yes.
How many officers do you remember being there that night, if you can recall?
I remember one for sure, and then the one I spoke to had a partner.
Okay, and the the officer that you remember, how is it that you remember that officer?
I knew him from elementary school, from haiku school.
Just from elementary school? You know?
Yeah, we went to elementary school together.
And what is his name?
Brent Takushi.
So at some point he arrives with another officer?
Yes.
Did you speak with Officer Takushi?
Yes.
And where did that occur?
It occurred outside of the house.
Now, did you tell Officer Takushi that night?
I'm sorry, is hearsay or is there a foundation?
You know, this goes to impeachment of memory at this point.
What are we impeaching?
Thank you.
Was there a foundation for an impeachment?
I assume that's what he's about to do. I haven't heard the whole question, so I don't know.
Well, how can he just ask it if there was no foundation?
I'm going about the record,
whether or
Judge.
not there's going to be one, but he just began a question that he's only mentioned a few words in the question. So I don't know what the question is right now.
Well, this is the wrong way to refresh recollection, though.
Judge,
To
I'm not
blurt out a
refreshing.
I don't think he said he's not doing that. He's laying the foundation. An impeachment foundation.
Well, okay.
Thank you. Ms. Worth, when you spoke with Officer Takushi that night, and Council, I'm looking at page 734 and 735, 795. Did you tell Officer Takushi that you were the ones that took the items out of the bed and placed them in the corner of the garage?
No.
Objection, hearsay.
Judge, this goes to impeachment. She's already testified as to what she did, and
The objection's over.
right. Okay, you didn't tell him that.
No.
Did you tell him that you started washing out the bed of your truck because maggots had fallen off on the blanket?
No.
Same objection.
Same rule, Your Honor.
So, Your Honor, may I ask for a limited instruction then, that this is not for the truth of the matter asserted?
Judge, I'm not even finished yet.
Right, well, let's finish up.
Thank you. Did Officer Takushi ever show you his report for accuracy?
Not that I recall.
So I'll object as to leading.
Yeah, it's part of the foundation.
Objection's over.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the testimony that's just been presented relative to the witness's statement is not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. So please keep that in mind. It's for the limited purpose of what's called impeachment. I'll elaborate on that as we proceed. Please just keep in mind it's for limited purposes, not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. That's with respect to the removal of the items from the truck and the cleaning of the truck bed.
Here, at this point, I was going to go into physical evidence.
They were right at work with me now, so. We are here for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your service today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I work for everyone tomorrow. Very good. Thank you so much.